Welcome back, everyone. We are continuing on with what we call this behind the scenes. Matt works on things that normally doesn't show on camera because it's not that exciting, but some of you think it's exciting. I'm gonna get ready to get some more of these things into the box, and I realized last night after I went to bed, I kind of didn't really think this through because I should have just taken the ones that are gonna go in the box and stuck them outside, because now I have the telehandler in the way, so I gotta move it out of the way to get these out and then put the telehandler back to clamp that stack, or I guess find something to put on top of the stack or whatever, but that's what I'm doing this morning. I'm gonna get these going in the box, and then at least that's going. Okay, let me see if I can get this corner cleaned up a little bit. That makes a huge difference over here. This is definitely something I should have done a long time ago. I've had this cabinet for years, and I haven't used it, and this is a much better use of space. Got everything kind of tucked away nicely in here, and most excitingly for me, all of Lindsay's pottery stuff has a place that's away from potential damage because she scares me when she leaves all these things that are ready to go and be fired in her kiln, and she just leaves them wherever. And at least to this point, I haven't broken anything, but it always scares me when I find little pieces of pottery scattered wherever. It doesn't make any sense. All right, well, that's kind of the day for this one. So I'm gonna run through and get these unloaded and stacked, and that's it for Wednesday. Well, it's Friday night. It's been one of those weeks. So yesterday, Thursday morning, woke up and the power was out, so I didn't get out here and start the steam box. I ended up just spending the day doing some computer work, which is good because I've got a lot of that to do, so that's fine. Today got kind of interesting. I got the steam box going in the morning, and my buddy Matt Rubin was moving shops today. So I offered to take a few things here to store them, to kind of get them out of the way, things he didn't need right away. It turns out the shop space that he was moving to fell through on the day he was moving into it, which was the same day that his lease ended at his current space. So I spent the day moving all his stuff, and it's all here. Everything is out in the field there, and it's all going to be coming in here. So that's kind of what I'm working on tonight. I have in the steam box one more kind of full-size slab. That was the other thing I kind of forgot about when I did the last batch, is that they get kind of smaller, and then you don't have weight all the way through the whole stack. So I have one more big one that's the full size, and then there's a few small ones in there that I'm going to try just clamping or putting underneath the this pallet of wood here on the flattener. I can just lay the slabs down on the bunks and then just drop this pallet on top of them. We won't be over bending like I am in that form. This will just be a flat form, so we'll see if that makes a difference. But for smaller stuff, this should work a little bit better. And then as far as full-size slabs from this log, I have these two left, which again are starting to get smaller than what I have over there. So these should be done as a separate batch. And then I pulled out a couple of these kind of smaller ones. These are some the cap pieces. They have a little bit of twist in them too, so I was going to run some of those. There's there's the one in the box right now that we're going to try. So you know, that's what I'm doing tonight, I guess. I got one to throw into that stack, and then I can start bringing all of Matt's stuff in here and burying my stuff, because it's a lot of stuff, and it's gonna fill up basically the entire aisle all the way to the door. Well, I never get the good stuff on camera. I was like, oh, why should I shoot this again? I've shown this so many times. Well, that's what happens when you collapse your sawhorses with the telehandler. So I'm gonna quickly run through this, I guess. Well, that might have been the biggest fail of my life. This is how it goes sometimes. Let's see, I'm gonna get the steam box cleaned up and out of the way, and then we'll get some stuff moved in. I guess it's an apt ending to the turntable, since we're getting rid of all the paint stuff. Goodbye, turntable. I think it's okay. I just crushed the handle and crushed the hose. It seems like it's fine though. Happy Saturday. I didn't get everything quite done and unloaded yesterday, so I have my trailer still full of that stuff that has to get unloaded. And then today, I'm picking up logs today. I gotta go help my friend pick up some logs for him. So I gotta get this all off of here and put away, and then get the log arch put on here and get ready to go do log stuff. All right, so here's what's happening with the winch now. The motor has an internal short. I already went through this once and looked at it, and the mounting bolts that hold the motor onto the actual winch body, they go right past the windings in the motor, and they're not insulated or anything. So I think it's over time the winding wires and those mounting bolts end up touching, and now there's like a direct short inside of there. So I'm going to pull it apart again real quick, and I'm going to see if I can maybe just wrap some electrical tape around that stud to see if that helps to remedy the problem a little bit. I really need to replace the motor because it doesn't look great inside, but kind of the two options here today are to make this thing work, at least for right now, or to pull this thing off of here and mount my smaller winch on here, which I don't really feel like doing at all. I don't feel like doing this either, but I don't feel like pulling this 180-pound winch off of here, whatever the heck it weighs, drilling new mounting holes for a smaller winch, and then having a smaller winch there, although this doesn't have as much power as it should because it's kind of screwed up right now. I'm going to try doing this without removing the wires, so we'll see how this goes. It's this is the bolt, no shorts. Actually, with this removed, that should no longer be shorted, so it should, yep. I mean, I guess I could run it without a mounting bolt in it. That seems silly. Let me see if I can get some tape on this. See if that just does it. It just seems a little silly to me. The design of this is to have this conductive piece going right there past all the windings, like really, really close to the windings to get the replacement motor. I don't know, this, like, you can't find this exactly, like, here's the part number for this motor, for this one. So the solution is you pull it completely apart so you can make sure you have the right idea of what the spline connection is inside of the drum there. So it's just a generic motor, but whatever, you gotta pull it apart to see exactly what the output side looks like. Come on, am I gonna get lucky today? Cool, lucky enough, let's go. Actually, before I do that, I want to show you one thing that I haven't shown before. So this is my smaller winch. This is the one that I used to have mounted to my sawmill. So at the old house, before I had a telehandler, I used to just back my trailer up to the sawmill and drag the logs off. So this post just goes into the, there's a receiver on the bed of the saw. This can also go right here. You set it right there, and you can put a pin through there. And now you can put a winch on either side of the trailer, and if you want to side shift something or you need a second winch for something, I have that as an option. I've never really had to use that because just either using a PV or a jack or something to shove a log side to side is easy enough most of the time. The next level of difficulty, I guess, will be using the winch on the trailer, because then you have to re-rig everything. So if you're using the arch at the time, you have to unrig the arch or unrig the log, rig to this point with a snatch block, and then make your pull. So it's more like how much time do you want to spend to scoot a log a little bit. And a lot of the times it's just easier to grab this guy or the farm jack and just move a log around. But that's just another option of things you can do with this trailer, I guess. I'm still gonna bring this just in case, because if something happens with that winch, I can always just do this. I can run it off the side here with a snatch block. All right, so maybe we'll pick up these logs. This pickup is gonna be part of another sawmill video in the future. So it'll be another video, and I'll see you when I get back with some logs. All right, I'm back. That did not go smoothly at all. So as soon as I got there and we started getting things hooked up. The winch was shorting out again. We spent, I don't know how long, pulling the motor apart, taping off the other mounting bolt, trying to like figure out where the internal short was happening so we can get it to stop doing that. That was to no avail, so I ended up going out and impulse buying another winch to at least get this done. So we'll get into that in a little bit. I have been putting that off for a while. One of those things you just kind of keep limping it along until suddenly it can't walk anymore, I guess. So this is some walnut. My friend Sam had a friend that had this tree removed, and Sam started cutting up like stuff this size with his chainsaw mill. And he got that stuff done, but he's gonna have a problem with this and that because they're too big for his saw. So instead of buying a bigger chainsaw mill, he asked me to come help him. So I picked them up, and then at some point we'll toss these on the sawmill and see what's inside of them. So we got this section here, which was the base of the tree. This section here went on that section there, and it has like a double crotch, triple limb kind of thing going on. So this should be pretty cool when we get to that. But today I'm gonna get these things unloaded, and then I have some more logs to go pick up. And I'm back. So we got some walnut here. These are from a friend of ours. They had some firewood logs dropped off, and these were in the pile, and they kind of felt bad cutting them up for firewood. So they said, hey, if you want to come get them, you can have them. So nothing crazy big. I think that's probably it's like 18 inches in diameter, and I don't know, like 9 feet long, and that one's like 10 feet long. It's got a crotch in it and some fun stuff. And then they had all these rounds that got dropped off as well. I took as well because, well, maybe I'll be inspired to jump back on the lathe and make some bowls or something. But anywho, that's a quick, uneventful pickup. This one's got a nice crack in it. That one's already checking pretty good, so I'm gonna get some end sealer on these and get them unloaded and move on to the next thing. I'm back again. I guess it's like my new catchphrase is I come and go and things show up or disappear. So I have been wanting to swap out my benchtop mortiser for a stationary mortiser for a very long time. Hasn't really been a priority, but this one came up on Marketplace and I messaged the seller. They responded like pretty much right away. I had time today to go look at it. You know, it all kind of fell together. Anyway, that's what I did today for the most part. This thing can get unloaded. I'm just gonna probably just stick it in the barn for now. I gotta get a mobile base for it before I can realistically go in the shop and all that stuff. So that's gonna be kind of it for this guy, I guess, or for what we do with this thing right now. So I'm going to get into this winch situation here in a second, but I thought I would show you some of the other things that I have been working on doing, because I still do more things than I guess is shown in even a behind the scenes video. There's always something else going on. So here in the shop, I've had this drill press just sitting here for 4 years now. It's been waiting on phase conversion because it's a 3-phase machine. So it's been on my to-do list to get phase conversions set up for it, and I finally kind of got around to that. So I've had this motor here, this 3-phase motor, for a long time. This is supposed to be the motor for a belt grinder that I was going to build, but I haven't done that yet. So this is a perfect opportunity to use this as an idler motor for a rotary phase converter. So I got this kind of rigged up here because I wasn't sure if this motor worked or if this thing works. So I figured before I spend the time making it all perfect and nice, I would just do a quick mock-up. I bought this, whatever you want to call this, controller box thing, phase converter controller box from an eBay seller. Instead of building it out myself, it comes all pre-assembled, and all you have to do is add a motor to it, and then that becomes your rotary phase converter. So that's my quick mock-up to see if this thing actually works, which, spoiler, sort of works. The phase converter works, but the drill press, not so much, or kind of works. Okay, so I can turn the phase converter on. That starts the motor. So it does work. It does, you know, come on and everything. This is a 2-speed motor on here, so you have a high and a low range. And then these gears are supposed to let you select what speed you want to go to. And that is that's the problem with this thing, is that this gear change mechanism doesn't work. So these cams up here, as you're turning this knob, those cams will push in those rods on top and set them in different places, which would disengage clutches inside these gears. These two are freely floating, but this one here is seized and doesn't move at all. So I have been soaking it in penetrating oil for about a week now, and I really haven't gotten any new movement out of there. So I'm gonna guess that there is something else screwed up in here. Turn that off because it's loud. So here is the parts diagram for that mechanism in there. And I'm gonna guess that inside of there, you can see there's like a spring assembly in there. I'm gonna guess the spring's broken or something is in there, and it's not causing this shaft to be able to move. So I guess there's 2 things for this. Either I can use this as a 2-speed drill press, 360 RPM or 680, and that's all it can do, or I can tear into this and pull that gear set apart and figure out why it's not shifting, or I could just close it back up and forget about it for another few years. So anyway, that's kind of the side project that I have been piddling with in here for on and off for the last couple of weeks. So there's that. Let's see about this winch situation. So what I want to try and get done first is to get this winch out of here and get this one mounted. That has a different hole mounting pattern than this one does. So I got to get some holes drilled, at least get that on there. I'll tell you why that winch is a terrible purchase. And then we'll tear this thing apart. To make this thing easier to get off of here and move around and deal with, I'm going to pull all the line off of it to save me some weight, because this thing is ridiculously heavy. Now, the only thing that I don't really like about this winch is that the line is so big that you realistically don't have free spool. Like, this is not free spool for a human. That's a good way to hurt yourself. But I do like having a 1/2-inch cable. It should be the thing that does not break. The chain that I have hooked to the log would theoretically break before this cable does. Whew. Okay. I'm kind of worried that if I actually pull this out, I'm never going to be able to get this cable back in again. So, I mean, now it's lighter, but it has a tail. So maybe we'll just go with that. All right, holes are drilled. Let me run you through this stupid thing. I would not buy this. So this is from Harbor Freight. This is the same winch that I used to have, or at least the model is the same as I used to have. And as I was buying this, I was surprised by the fact that the cost is still the same, or roughly the same. Whatever, it's been 12, 13, 14 years later. And that should have been something that alerted me to the fact that, how do they keep the cost the same for that long? Well, they do that by removing features. So, had I take a closer look at this, I wouldn't have bought this. And the first thing they did is this down here. Instead of having the base of the unit be tapped, so you can just thread the bolts in, now there are nuts that go in there. And you have to make sure those nuts are in position correctly. You don't lose them so that you can actually bolt this thing in place. So that's the first thing. Second feature they took away, which really irks me. Actually, maybe I'll do the easy one first. The one that's not that big of a deal, or less of a big deal, is the fair lead mount. So there's no longer a way to mount the fair lead directly to this. They assume you're going to have the fair lead mounted somewhere else, which is, in this case, kind of annoying because I don't really want to mount the fair lead somewhere else. I want to mount it here anyway. And it's just nice when it's all contained in this one unit. You don't have to worry about, another thing you have to have fabricated or made to make the winch work. Maybe depending on the application, if you have the winch mounted somewhere else other than where the fair lead needs to go, that makes sense. But it'd be nice to have the option to actually have the mounting bolt holes on the front of the unit. And then lastly, the most annoying and stupidest thing that is gone off of here is the retainer to keep tension on the cable when there isn't any tension on the line. If you don't have that, as soon as you take tension off the line, the cable just goes poof and makes this big like puff thing, and then when you go and suck it back in, it just all interlocks, becomes this crazy rat's nest, and it is horrible, horrible, horrible for the cable itself because you'll end up with a bunch of kinks in it, and it doesn't wind up nice and cleanly because it's all over the place. The application for this style without the retainer is that if you're going to use this once, you're going to pull all the line off of it, use it with the full line extension, and then reel it all back in when you're done. So it's like you would have to pull all the line off and suck it all back in and roll up all nicely with this coming all the way in to the winch or attached to something and keep it tensioned the whole time, because as soon as you let go of the tension, it goes like that, and you lose all of your nice windings, and it just becomes an absolute mess and nightmare. I did a video all about winches and like features to look for in winches or whatever several years ago. I'll leave you a link to that, but literally everything I just talked about is in that video, and I was in a rush. Shouldn't have bought this one. But fortunately, I guess it's a spare, or now it's a spare. So let's see about this thing. So some initial testing and kind of watching stuff. I think there's another short happening in this terminal down here. And now it's running. I see some little sparkies happening there. There we go. And now it's done again. So probably this terminal, which is, I think I saw that was kind of bad before. So anyway, let's take it apart. Okay, the way these things are built or assembled, you have a motor, you have a gearbox, and then you have the drum in the middle. Coming out of the motor is the output shaft, and then there's a spline shaft or whatever, a shaft that runs through the drum, connects into the sun gear inside of here. It goes through all the planetaries, and then that links up to the drum. So in order to get this motor off of here, get the mounts undone and everything, you basically have to split this thing into 3 pieces: the motor side, the gearbox side, and the drum. And that's all connected by these rods here in the middle. And in the case of this one, with this fair lead on the front, it's also connecting the 2 plates together, which form, I guess, the frame around the drum. I've done this before. Not on this one, but you learn to fix everything. Not because you want to, but because you have to and you have no choice. I guess in retrospect, I could have left that spring on there. Anyway, this is all what we need right here is this. Okay, so this is the little coupler. That's the output shaft that we're going to need. And now we figure out how to get this thing off of here. I'm going to see if it comes apart like this. These are the bolts that hold the, I guess, the windings or the field around the rotor. Maybe it's just pressed in. Because I'm taking the rotor with it. So how do I get the rotor out? Is it just pressed with this? I'll show you this at least. So there's the brushes, which this is already slipped off, but the brushes would ride here on the commutator, and there's your rotor thing. Look on this side, this is where my shorts were happening. So we already wrapped this thing in electrical tape to help with that, but basically with these bolts, they run in right alongside of these. And at some point, you know, you're sitting on a trailer, you get enough rubbing going on, this insulation gets rubbed through, and these bolts will start shorting out against these, whatever, coils, connections to the coils, and this is not looking like it's in the best shape either, so there's that. Anyway, that's the outside. How do we get this rotor off of here? There's definitely been water in here, that's for sure. There's your gasket, which I doubt it's doing much right now. Okay. I'm gonna guess it's just sitting in this bearing. where's a mallet? There we go. There's our rotor with some nice corrosion on it. And then there's the outside. So I'm gonna see if I can find one of these guys. All right, I think I'm gonna end this one here. I think we've covered quite a bit of ground. There's always something going on. And if you only follow me here on YouTube, you see probably less than half of what happens in the going-ons around here. Anyway, we'll come back to this and the rest of the projects in another video. But for now, thank you as always for watching. I greatly appreciate it. If you have any questions or comments on whatever we did here, please feel free to leave me a comment. As always, I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have. And until next time, happy woodworking.